But thanks for joining us. And I know that, yeah, it is a little bit rainy out. And thank you for the folks that made the journey. We did one of these a couple of weeks ago in San Francisco. But this is not a repeat. We actually have a little surprise in store for you today that we didn't mention back in San Francisco. And we'll get to that later on. So this is I'm very excited to be able to talk about that. As Doug mentioned, he's less than 2 years. I'm at about my 6-month mark here at Alfresco since I joined. I first came across Alfresco in a prior role at about 2008 and always had admiration around what the company was doing, and I like what and I'm really happy to be able to join the team and really kind of help grow it and focus on the products and really work with all of you. So what I want to talk about today is in that 6 months, joining a new company and a new team, my approach was to meet as many people as I could and to talk and frankly do a lot of listening. I think we're born with 2 ears and 1 mouth, and that kind of sets the ratio of talking to listening. And in that, I talked to not only the core team internally, but partners and the ecosystem and some of the community members, and really anything I could do to kind of really get a perspective of what's going on at Alfresco. And also from a customer problem standpoint, I really wanted to think about how do we help take this to the next level? We see these markets converging, as Doug talked about, but really how do we think about the right investments that we can do? And it's been a busy year so far. I mean, a lot of us have spent a lot of time traveling and meeting with many of you and pulled into different types of visits and customer meetings. And really what this is all culminated to is kind of what I'll put in these 4 different buckets. And the first bucket is related to probably one of the biggest pain points I hear from the industry is, how do I help drive user adoption? The best ECM system in the world isn't worth anything if people aren't using it. So how do we, instead of having training or forcing users to go to an ECM system, how do we think about bringing the ECM system to the users? How do we think about that seamless integration so it's not such a stretch? How do we think about this more intelligently so that, for example, when adding content, people are really bad about adding in additional notes and adding metadata. And it's one of those things that people want to do later at some other time, but a lot of the times never get around to. So we focused a lot about how do we capture additional metadata at the time of ingestion and take that and have that be part of the asset throughout its life. So this is around adoption, this is around integration, helping the user out and not having them kind of jump through a lot of different barriers to get to that. And I like that second bullet there in the top bucket. The E in ECM should be about easy and engaging, and I believe in that. And that's one of the kind of main points we're thinking about inside of Alfresco to really help us out as we look at the investments going forward. The second point that I hear a lot from CIOs and others is this is a mobile world we live in. A lot of us have several devices in our pockets that are vibrating at any given moment, telling us where we should be and what we should be doing, and helping us work from anywhere. And how do we extend that ECM system to let us be productive? And I'm not talking about just simple file sync and share workflows, not just the simple, hey, I got access to a file from a cloud repository or whatever. I think that's kind of table stakes at this point, right? It's kind of a feature of a larger value proposition. What I'm talking about is actually getting real work done based on workflow and tasks and getting a dashboard into what my business is doing. And we've made a lot of investments in our applications, which are great to use out of the box or out of the app store, so to speak, that you can just take and run with. But unique in the industry, we also make these available as open source components. So, for example, and this is a real use case we heard about with an insurance company, they want to have their agents that are in the field be able to do an insurance claim or an adjustment on top of, let's say, an auto accident that they have. So, taking an application, the Alfresco mobile app, and maybe exposing some of the mobile-specific features like the camera and the GPS and other kind of mobile-specific items, capturing that as part of the photo that then I check in to attach to a record that gets assigned to a workflow, that's a real thing you can start to string together. So look for more of that as we really build out mobility as part of ECM to really help people work from anywhere. And do it in a secure way that IT can help control and manage and make sure is certified by the major MDM vendors. So again, mobility, huge. We have this mobile first mentality internal that we're driving towards. And this is something that really is going to kind of set our true north in our direction. The third item, and this relates back to what Doug was talking about on that explosion of content slide. And I think we all agree, right? And I think in our lives and what we see in our business is just there's so much information, and the challenge gets to be, how do I separate really the valuable information from kind of the noise? It's the signal to noise ratio on content, right? And I think that's been a challenge because you're not quite sure who is touching this content? What content is getting most used? How is this content being used inside of a workflow, for example? So one of the things that we'll show later on, and I think gets to this because this is a recurring theme we've heard again and again, is give me better insights, give me better intelligence. And we've made investments around analytics and reporting inside as a core service inside of Alfresco One that we'll be showing later on today. But we really think that with some reports that are out of the box, but also being able to do some easy configuration around, we're going to get people better insights into not only their documents, but their people, and also really where it is in the state of the workflow. So that type of new visibility that they have into their business is something that we're also very, very excited about. And I think gets to that pain point of people saying, hey, what do I do with all this stuff, and how am I going to be able to manage that? So that's the third point. The fourth is specifically around, in certain markets, this is critical. Help me with my ECM solution in a open, and what we mean by that is, following open standards. I think vendors don't want to get locked in, customers don't want to get locked in by a vendor and a maintenance support contract and things that just get out of hand. I think there is a revolution going in from the first generation ECM systems to what we're seeing now, and we're able to help in that, and help with that transition. On a modern stack, something that is cloud friendly, we can run it as a cloud service. It can run on-prem as well. Doug talked to some of the content sync that's being able to happen from a hybrid nature, but really providing choice. And I think if I had to sum up the last bullet, it was choice. Choice of who I work with, how open it is. If I want to make my extensions myself, I can. If I want to leverage a partner community, it's an open community that a lot of people have added a lot of goodness to. So that's part of what I hear also is, we're really reluctant to get locked in, help us out. So when I think about all these things coming together, and because here we are in October, and 2014 has been a blur, the market hasn't waited for us for this event to make some announcements, so we've actually accomplished a lot already. Some of them, and you'll see them better in context today as part of the demonstration, are things like Outlook integration. And this gets to that first pain point I talked to around, make it easy, and a lot of people live inside their inbox, make it easy for content to easily get into my ECM system and be able, or pull content from my ECM system right in context of the application. And we'll be showing this in context of the workflow today. The second, for the people that are with iOS devices in their pocket, you'll see some of the new iOS 2.0 apps out. I use those on a daily basis between on-prem and cloud repositories. We'll see that again today. We had another advancement of Workdesk, and a lot of people use Workdesk as a platform for case management and provides a lot of customization and roles. We've had that. Records management is huge in these large regulated industries or in governmental agencies where they want to have control and be able to lock things down and declare as a record and have policies around it. Some of our main governmental customers talk about locking a record down for 100 years. I mean, that you got to make sure you have that together. And I think Paul Holmes-Higgin has done a great job with the team around Activiti, building that up and getting a lot of momentum this year. So huge kudos to that team, and you'll see that again as part of this product keynote. But I would be at a loss if I didn't once again acknowledge the contributions of the community, because I think the community is also what makes us unique. And I actually do want to have a round of applause as I put this down for our community members in the audience. I mean, thank you for being here. I mean, from the people that have meetups and hackathons around the world, from Russia to Dubai to Toronto to New York, and I'm based in California and in the San Mateo team, and all the people that are on the IRC channel, the people that are making code contributions, the people that are having hackathons. Some of the work that you see in today's demo, the origin was back in the community. Specifically, if you think about the HTML5 viewers that we're going to show today, that was started off as a community effort, which was grown into it. Some of the localizations that we have, that you can see on the big screen, these were originated. All the community engagement we've had on the forums and the channels and the 50+ add-ons we have in the market, it's really, I think, that community that we want to contribute on. Doug hosted a Meet Doug session. I've been working with Richard for myself volunteering to, as much as I can participate. Brian Remington, my counterpart in engineering. So you'll see a lot more of us, maybe to the point where you're sick of us, but we want to engage a lot more. So I really do want to take a moment to thank you all and also kind of make that public promise that we're going to do a lot more engagement. So that's great. But I think what we're really here to see, and I know a lot of you from different partner ecosystems and also from customer councils, really want to talk about Alfresco 1.5.0. And I do too, because this is the big release that we have for this year. This is the culmination of a lot of work from the teams. This is everything kind of coming together into an overall solution. So since this is so big, and we don't want to just talk about a list of features, I'm actually going to have other people come up on stage to really help me out walk through this. But what you're going to see is things that get to that main pain points around end user adoption, so the integration points, the Alfresco Office services, which makes the Alfresco repository look and appear as a SharePoint repository. So all of those Office applications that you have that natively know how to talk to SharePoint will natively know how to talk to an Alfresco repository as well. You'll see the iOS applications up here on stage. We have a number of different things around reporting and analytics. The ability to customize reports, get pre-canned reports, drill down into data, all that information you'll be able to see today. We don't have any content encryption demos because content encryption really doesn't make a good demo. But there's a lot of work that we've done in the platform as well to really add additional security and things like that. And of course, just kind of bringing this all together. So I could talk about these, but I think it's a lot cooler to see them in action. And this is where we're going to have some people from the product team come in. And what we wanted to do is not just put it into a bunch of demonstrations. So I need your imagination here with me for a second. We've created a fictional race team called the Newton F1 race team. And the Newton F1 race team has a race this weekend, and they took their Formula One race car, and they went around the track, and they found that the aerodynamics of the vehicle wasn't quite right, and they needed to have a part created. And who are they going to call to do the part creation? But Goldcore. And we are a specific company that does 3D carbon fiber printing. And we're going to make this component, but our team is spread all over, and they're using all sorts of different tools, and we're going to show it how it all comes together. And it's funny because we thought about getting a Formula One car up here on stage, but I think it's not going to fit, number one, and I think this isn't a crowd that would like a gimmick, so I just need your imagination that for a second. So I think we're going to keep the money, we're going to build a better product around it, and we're not going to have a car on stage. But I do want to have Paul Hampton come up on stage and maybe look at some of these features with me, because it's a big job for all of us. So thank you for coming up.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. So as Thomas says, I work for Goldcore 3D Fabrication, and I'm a sales guy. And we've got great technology. We can print anything, any component out of any material. And I've been trying to get some business out of Formula One, the John Newton Formula One race team, that well-known race team. And as a sales guy, where do I work? Well, I spend a lot of time in email, sending emails from customers, from clients. So how can Alfresco make me more productive?
I would love to take a look.
So let's show them.
Let's take a look at that.
So here you can see, this is my Outlook screen. So as I said, I'm a sales guy, spend a lot of time in Outlook, and this is how I deal with email. And luckily, I've got an email from John Newton. He's the team principal at Newton F1 Racing. And he's asking me about I've been talking to him, and he said he's got this problem. He needs to create this component. And he sent me a technical spec. As you can imagine, Formula One racing cars.
Super high tech.
Super high tech. But these components need to be... Now, I'm a sales guy. I have no idea what all of this means.
What are you going to do?
I know somebody in my team that does. So what I can do is I can use Alfresco. And what you can see is Alfresco is embedded with inside Outlook. So on the right-hand side here, you can see my Alfresco document library. And you can see all the sites that I have access to. Now, this is a demo system, and that could be hundreds of thousands of sites.
Sure.
So I can filter, and I can show just the favorite sites, the sites I go to on a regular basis, or my sites, the sites that I work in.
Love it.
Now, one of these is a sales enablement site, and I can expand that, and I can see all the case studies. So if I wanted to find a case study quickly, I can do that.
Yep.
I also have the ability to search, so I can run a query across the whole library. I can also get access to my workflows. So if I've started a task, I can see what the status is, or if somebody sent me a task, I can see that within here.
Directly inside of...
Directly inside Alfresco.
Love it.
But what I want to do is I want to save this email, more importantly, the attachment. I just want to pause up there and just go back.
Okay, so you want to save an attachment.
And I just want to show you that. So here you can see I get a context-sensitive menu. I'm sorry, that's what I was meant to pause there. But this allows me to do things inside Alfresco. So in this particular case, I'm on a folder, and I want to create a new folder to store this. If I was on a document, I could send that document via an email.
Yep.
I could download it to view it. I could create a PDF of that document, all directly from within my email client. What I'm actually going to do is create a folder. So I'm going to call this Newton F1 Racing.
Okay.
Give it some meaningful name. Going to save that into Alfresco. And now what I'm going to do is just drag that email from Outlook and drop it on that folder inside Alfresco.
Are there other ways to get content into the repository?
Yeah, you make a good point. I mean, this is a very interactive way, and this is me as a supposedly knowledge worker deciding where to store stuff.
Right.
But you said that this was a repeat. We went to Summit in San Francisco, and there was a great partner demonstration. And they've been doing some work for one of the financial institutions in Wall Street. Bankers, investment bankers, they really don't want to be messing around with folders and what have you. They like email. So what they've done is they've used an SMTP gateway to allow that banker just to email deal documents into Alfresco. And then, so using an SMTP alias, they just say email at deals@alfresco.com. And that will then go into Alfresco. And there's a rule in there that takes all the documents and then creates all the deal structures and puts it in there, starts the workflow so that the people in the back office can start processing that. A really good example of how you can automate things from simply just somebody saying, email this to the repository.
Yeah, it's good workflow and efficiency. That's great.
Going back here, I'm just going to type in a description. So I'm going to give it some, I could give it some keywords. I'm just going to put in some description so I can look at this later. And I'm also going to say I want to extract the attachments. Remember, I've got this document that I need to be reviewed. And that's going to go in, and then we just review the folder, and now we can see the email and also the attachment in there. Flipping over, we're going to go back in now to look at Alfresco Share. So I'm looking at the repository, looking through my sales opportunities, and here's my folder. Here's my email. I can open that up, and I can look at that directly with inside Alfresco. I can see the email from John, and I can also get a link then to the attachment. So I've saved that piece of content in here. We'll click on the link any moment now.
Yep.
And there's that complex document that I didn't understand.
Right inside the repo. Got it.
Directly inside. So from my point of view, I can carry on working with email just like I normally would, but all of this now is being saved in Alfresco, and I can do something intelligent with it once it's inside Alfresco.
Love it. But is there more integration you can show me, Paul?
I'm glad you asked that.
Well, I was hoping you would be.
Because one of the other things I work on is Microsoft Office.
Yep.
So when I'm not responding to emails, I'm creating documents, presentations.
Sure.
I'm working on my sales forecast in Excel documents. And what I'd really like to be able to do is be able to save that into Alfresco so that other people can access that.
Yep.
So what I'd like to show now is the new Alfresco services. This is a rewrite of our Alfresco services, totally rewritten, using the SharePoint protocol.
Yep.
The beauty of that means you don't have to install anything on people's desktops. but I can now access Alfresco directly from inside Microsoft Office, Word, PowerPoint, and Excel.
That's great. That makes IT's job a lot easier because I don't have to install any plugins or anything
Exactly.
else. Great.
So here's a prospect form that's on my desktop. This is where I've been keeping a track of all the interactions I've had with Newton F1 Racing.
Okay.
I'm just updating this now and typing in the email, and I'm all excited because I'm hopefully going to get some business from Newton F1 Racing. I'm going to save this, and rather than saving it back to my desktop, I'm going to choose web locations. And here you can see there's a path, and that path takes me directly into Alfresco, the document library.
Right.
Exactly like you would for SharePoint, but now I'm browsing exactly that same folder as I showed you through Alfresco Share. Don't have to do anything, I can go through. Now this is where Alfresco is now prompting me.
Right.
And saying, rather than just calling this a document, can you add some more intelligence to this?
What type of metadata? What type of document?
So now I can say, well, this is a custom type. In this particular case, I'm saying it's a sales document.
Yep.
And I can save that away. The beauty of that is assigned to that type is custom metadata. And now I can go up here and say, show the properties, and that will bring up the property sheet. And now I can start filling that information in directly from inside Word.
And you didn't have to install that. It just shows up because it...
Don't have to. It's just driven by the SharePoint protocol. So I can say that, you know, this is who the customer, what country it is, what the customer is, what type of document it is. It's a prospecting sheet. And also the type of construction they're interested in, fused filament fabrication. So I can add that extra intelligence. It's much, much easier to capture that metadata when people are creating documents, rather than having to ask them to go back and do it after the effect. So you can make sure that they're adding those in. Again, if we go back and look at Share, Alfresco Share, I can come down here, refresh, there's the document I've just checked in directly from Microsoft Word.
Got it.
And I can look in here and I can see the properties, and there's all that metadata that I set when I was working with Word. So I've got a couple of documents in here now, and I want to move these on. Remember, I knew some guy that was really smart. I want to send this to him via a workflow.
But he's remote, right?
I have no idea where he is. He never comes into the office. I'm always thinks he's out visiting customers, doing that listening bit that you were talking about. So I'm going to send this to Jeremy Clarkson. I'm going to send him the email. I want to attach this technical specification, document I couldn't understand. And I'm also going to send him my prospecting form so he can see how important it is to me to get this deal.
So you can initiate a task in workflow right.
And a package of documents, and that directly goes out.
Got it.
So what we've shown is, as me as a sales guy, I can work on my desktop in email, in Word, in PowerPoint, and interact directly with Alfresco without having to go to another application.
And without additional IT overhead of installing additional plugins.
Exactly.
That's great. Okay. Thank you, Paul, so much for coming up. Okay, so there's some documents that were created, and there was a task that was initiated, but that gets sent to the chief engineer who's working remotely today from his mobile device. Which happens a lot, right? Because we're always spending time on the road, maybe meeting with customers, maybe you're playing golf, who knows, that day. But I want to invite Marc Dubresson up on stage, who handles the mobile products for Alfresco, based here in Maidenhead. And Marc, I'd love to hear more about what we're doing around mobile and how mobile can work together for Alfresco.
Well, thanks for having me.
Thank you very much.
Jeremy Clarkson. I still have a scientist crazy hair.
That's right.
You know, as you can tell. So yeah, I'm always on the road. I'm not always playing golf, more visiting customers and factories. And I mean, for the past 3 years using Alfresco Mobile, I've been able to stay in touch with the office. I've been able to collaborate with the teams that are back in Maidenhead.
Sure.
And I've been able to access documents. That's something that's quite important for an engineer, for a scientist, to look at specs and stuff like that, but also participate in workflows, which I think it's more important. You don't want to be the gating person stopping everything from happening back at the company because you're at an airport or at a factory. So I've been able to move things forward as I carry on.
I like it.
And this year with Alfresco 2.0, it's entirely rewritten, redesigned based on our SDK, which is the same SDK or a similar SDK that we use for the Android application. We have like I think the perfect storm. This is like the platform complete with our application and the SDK. So it's really exciting. Maybe I should see if there is something that's arrived the head office here. So
you're on your iPad.
I'm on my iPad launching the application. What I do is regularly check on my task. That's the first thing I will do in the day. And there's a task from our friend John, and I can see that I've received a bunch of documents.
Yep.
So the first document I typically will look at is the prospect form. So what is this about?
Sure.
And using the built-in Apple viewer, I can view a lot of type of documents. So this document here is a Word, and I can see, okay, all right, there's something interesting going on, and it looks pretty urgent. So lucky that I've got my device and I'm going to be able to do a few things here. The first thing I can do, obviously, is to look at that PDF. So here's that document that John doesn't understand. I get it straight away. I make it a little bit bigger because my eyes are bad. Yep. And I can use that now. I'm using the iOS viewer here. This is a PDF document. We've seen a Word document, a PowerPoint presentation I can use to make a presentation to our prospects or maybe to the factory engineers. I can basically benefit from the entire platform's built-in features right from within the Alfresco app.
Makes sense.
All right, well, the form looked good to me, so I didn't even really have to look at it. I just understand it all. I'm going to approve it. I'm going to also mention that there is something that we've done in the past with other customers, some use cases using carbon parts that we should really have a look at. So I make sure I put that in the comments, and by tapping approve, that task is completed, and that document is basically sent back with its content right into a repository. So again, I'm on the road, but I am connected all that time to the office. Now, if you don't mind, since I'm here, I'm going to show you a few more things that are going on in the application. So here we're looking at menus of the different options that I have in the Alfresco application. And the one I'd like to point to is My Files. That's like the file sync and share. So these are my personal documents. They're not ready to go into the repository. So this is where I store the documents I'm working on. And they are on my mobile device, and they will be on my desktop as well. So this is a vision of what I have on all of my devices I work with. And it's my personal space. The shared files that we're looking at here is something that the company can use to push content to me. So maybe HR documents, price lists. So that's something that is shared across the entire owners of a repository. And I mentioned earlier is I need to access a lot of different documents. I look at plans, I look at specification. So I have access to the entire repository, and I have thousands of documents across multiple customers, multiple factories, documents that are really key for me. And obviously I have access to the history and versioning that my colleagues back in the office may be evolving. Exactly. So I always know what the latest version is. Now, I'm going to get on the plane, and I do that a lot. So I may want to take some documents with me. So here, I'm accessing my favorites, and those are documents that I think are important for ongoing projects or that I typically use, maybe engineering references. So going to the favorites part of the application, I can basically sync all of those documents. And from now on, and I'm going to get on the plane, even when I'm disconnected, I can access those documents. I can update them. And once I update them and I get off the plane, I get reconnected, those will be automatically versioned into the repository. So that's a really, really key aspect of mobility, because you don't always have a connection. And so the application takes great care of that for me.
That's right.
Not always accessing it. Now, it's not only about Alfresco Mobile. There are thousands and thousands of apps. There's an app for that, right? And there are plenty of apps for me. One of them is PDF Expert. A lot of PDF annotation applications, and that's really important for me because I work with plants and parts. So I go on the factory floor, look at a part being manufactured, see a problem. I can use one of those multiple applications to annotate and basically make notes using digital devices and pens or my finger. And I can then send this back right into Alfresco. So I want to work on that document when I get back. I'm going to save it right into My Files. So when I get back into the office, I'll be able to pick it up and go on and work with it. So that's Alfresco mobile application 2.0 for iOS and 1.4 for Android as well, which does the same thing pretty much.
And it's more than file sync and share. It's all that security you need. It's synchronization. It's working with third-party applications all coming together. And it can be controlled by MDM.
Absolutely. So security is important. So good technology, mobile iron, and we see a lot of companies basically going into technology, into mobility,
Yep.
through security first. And that makes entire sense. If you're going to put your data out on devices that can easily be dropped or left at the back of airplanes, you want to make sure you can push a button to delete all that data, and that's absolutely possible. So,
and they're customizable, being open source.
Absolutely, yes, that's our application, and it's from the store, usable as is, but I think this is more of a showcase. Everyone here has a specialty, what makes them competitive compared to other companies doing the same type of business.
Yep.
You can take that open source app, modify it, and that's unique in the industry. You won't find that anywhere else. And if you want, it's built on the SDK. You can build your own from scratch.
That's right.
Using the SDK as well, and many more options as well for configuration.
And that just acknowledges that people's businesses are different. We allow that customization and openness, which is true to our nature.
Alfresco from the early days, and continuing on the mobility, it's customizing for competitivity.
Perfect. Love it.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Marc.
Anytime.
All right.
Get back. Thank you.
So Marc has now approved the document, working remotely. And again, this was a task initiated on, from Outlook, went into the repository, worked remotely, got access to that. But wait, there's more, because now I want to have Mike Farman come up on stage. And Mike's going to show some of the other kind of core features that we've done inside of the repository related to searching and filtering and some of the other advancements. So thank you, Mike, for coming up.
You're welcome.
What do we have today, Mike?
So I'm going to play the role of the sales guy again,
okay.
And he's received a response back saying that, yeah, looks like some business that we can satisfy. So he wants to put a package of materials together that he can share with the prospect.
Okay.
And as we know, sales guys are lazy, right? So
are all sales guys lazy?
Well, no, just kidding.
Our CEO is a sales guy. I don't know if I want to say that.
So let's put it another way. Sales guys want things easy.
They're efficient.
Right. So what we wanted to provide is, we're not here to slag off the sales guys, honestly. So what we want to do is provide some tools to make it much easier for them to find and discover the content that lives in their repositories in their organization.
Sounds good.
So we've been working very hard on the search and discovery side of things, and we've introduced a new set of tools that I'd like to take you through now. So what we're looking at here is share. I'm going to just start typing, and I'm just typing into the search bar at the top of the screen there. And what you can see immediately is I've got search results instantaneously. So as I type, literally as each character is typed, you'll see that we're getting responses back for matching documents.
It's like the spotlight on the Mac, right? I see the different categories.
Yeah, very similar. And actually, that was one of the apps we looked at for inspiration as part of this feature. So as I'm typing in there, I've got sites, I've got documents, I've got people, so I can very quickly locate them just by typing.
Love it.
So in this case, remember, we're working on this carbon part. So the sales guy wants to find these marketing promotional materials to support carbon, this carbon part. So he just types the word carbon, okay?
Sure.
So no complex search term, no fancy search forms here, just types that word and issues a query.
And he gets 170 results.
Exactly. So 170 results, that's a lot of documents to go and look through to see if they might be the ones that are relevant.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to go hunting through files and folders and things like that. So what he's going to do is actually just start to filter those results by applying the filters on the left-hand side with metadata that's relevant to the search results. So this is not a fixed, hard-coded list. It's actually dynamic. So it knows what search results you have, what metadata is relevant to those search results, click on those filters, and we can rapidly cut down the results we see there.
So you didn't have to pre-program that stuff. That's all this kind of extracted.
Right. So it's driven from the back-end model.
Yep.
And as I say, it's from the search results as well. So because we have that certain set, we'll get a set of filters. For a different query, we may get different filters.
Sure.
So in this case, marketing content. So let's say we want to look for some case studies. What case studies might be relevant for this particular prospect? So we'll click on the case study category. And as we talked about, it's a carbon fiber-based product, so I'll filter it by the construction method, and then also by industry. So it's automotive. So literally by clicking 3 filters, I've gone from 170 results down to 2 results. Yeah. So it's pretty, I'm pretty sure now, pretty confident that these are going to be the relevant documents that will support me as part of my bid process. So on those search results, we have things like the actions available to us, so we can do check-in, check-out, upload new version, all of those kinds of actions. And what we also have is the ability to do preview. So here we're going to look for a different type of document. In this case, it's a research paper.
Okay.
Again, carbon fiber. And here we have a document that we found. And if I just click on the thumbnail there, I'm opening up a preview.
And that preview looks new.
Absolutely. I had a feeling you were going to ask that.
Oh, well, how did you know?
So this is a brand new preview. So this is based on HTML5 technology. So it's no longer relying on Flash. It's a rich preview as well. So not only have we got the content of the document, obviously, on the left-hand side, you can see thumbnails. We can click on those thumbnails and jump to those pages directly. So it makes it very easy for us to open up and look at the content of that without having to download and open it in the native app. But also because it's HTML5, it's intelligent. Right. So we actually have the text in the body of the document now. So if I search for the word carbon within the document, you can see it's real text. It's highlighted in the document. I can copy and paste from it. I can take paragraphs and maybe reuse them in other documents. Yep. So it's a much more intelligent, useful document now. And then, again, applying some more filters. In this case, let's look for some presentations. So I've got a case study. I've got a research paper. I want a presentation to support it. So again, like we saw with the previous documents, we're able to preview that with a new previewer. And that also supports rich text and graphics. So these are complex graphics that are being supported through the previewer as well. So it's not just simple text documents. It really does support rich types of document types. So there's a presentation. So I've got some useful bits of materials now, but I want to get something that's a bit more engaging, something that might excite the customer a little bit more. So let's go and try and find some rich media, some video that we can use to support that. Yeah. So again, just applying filters. We've now got videos that feature carbon with it. In this case, this is a video of the printing process, the 3D printing process. So this video here, we're playing back with a new HTML5-based video preview capability. And if we look at the length of that video, it's about a minute or so, 57 seconds.
Kind of long.
Yeah. So it's long. It's got a long preamble. It's got some, a long section with the logo at the back. So I want to trim this down, make it shorter, make it more relevant to the customer or the prospect I'm going to share this with. So what I'm going to do is just go down to an edit icon. And this is a new capability that allows us to go and actually do lightweight editing of rich media, and in this case, obviously, video. So I'm going to go along to the timeline, slide to the start and end point on the timeline, and ask to crop that. And what will happen is in the background, on a remote process, so I'm not going to overload the server with that transformation process, which are very CPU intensive. I'm offloading that into the background. And here we can see that I'm getting a live update to say how far it's through that process. If I was to go away and come back again, I'd again see that timeline going through there. So even a sales guy who has no tools, no video editing tools, skills, capabilities, doesn't have anything installed on the desktop to do that, can do this kind of lightweight editing just for doing cropping. And
it looks like version 1.1 now, so it created a new version automatically.
Exactly. So we've created a new version. We can go back to the previous one should we need to. And we've now got a shorter version of the video. If we play that again, you can see it's now 31 seconds rather than about a minute. And then the other thing I want to do is put some comments on here to highlight particular areas in the video. So in this case, I'm going to highlight where the actual printing process starts on the timeline there. So go down to the comments, grab the timeline, where it starts, and then put a comment associated with that. Now, this kind of capability is not just applicable to videos or products. We actually record a lot of videos internally of online meetings. Okay, so we have a lot of WebEx videos, and anybody who's done WebEx, you always go through that 10 minutes. The guys can't dial in, and the audio's not working, and there's all this faffing about going on. We've all been there, right? So if you're recording those, and you want to crop out all of that noise at the beginning, or the Q&A at the end, or jump straight to the demo bit as a part of the video, that's the kind of thing that you could use this tool for. So it's more than just kind of product videos. You can use it for those internal meetings and those kinds of things.
Love it.
So we've added the comment into the timeline here, and what will happen is when we save this, we'll actually see indicators. So there'll be visual indicators on the timeline. And here we're just highlighting one of those. We can see the comment, and then we could click and jump straight to it, and it will seek to that point in the video and start playing from there.
Love it. Nice and clean, cleanly integrated. But there's been some other work we've had going on since, right? I mean, we're also thinking about how we do integration. So to close this section out, and I mentioned that we're doing London a little bit different than we did in San Francisco. So, Mike has been working on this, and he worked as a salesman role to pull together and, answer the call and put together the video and be able to send that out, which is great. And to close out the whole race car theme in Newton F1, now we won, hooray. But we want to also be able to show some of the new announcements today, specifically around Alfresco and SharePoint integration. So if you check your press releases that were issued today from Alfresco, we have announced an open source integration that allows a SharePoint interface to be able to link in and look into an Alfresco repository. So how many people in the audience have seen SharePoint somewhere in an enterprise? By show of hands, yes, I see all those hands go up. It exists, right? Sometimes departmentally it just kind of springs up, but there's a lot of functionality that SharePoint does not service well. And there's usually an Alfresco repository in there too. And if people are used to using a SharePoint as a front end, now they can actually use that front end to an Alfresco repository. And this is true to our nature of being open source, something that we're actually going to contribute to Apache. So maybe you can add more on that.
Yeah, so what we're going to look at here is what Thomas was talking about we announced today, which is some new web parts that provide access from SharePoint, from the SharePoint client user interface via web parts as Alfresco as the backend repository.
Right.
We've been working on this for several months. We are going to contribute the core components of this to the Apache Chemistry project, as this is built on top of the CMIS standard. So there's a core set of capabilities, and then we've also got some kind of Alfresco added value capabilities, which we'll see as we move into the demo.
Let's dig in.
So here we've got the SharePoint user interface, and what I'm going to do is log in, and what I can do is start to browse around in files and folders. But these files and folders are actually hosted within Alfresco. So seamlessly to the user, actually the content that we're looking at here is in an Alfresco repository on the back end. So if we look at it along with the scenario that we had, maybe in our accounts department, for some reason nobody really understands. They insist on using SharePoint as their client. What this would provide is the ability to still use SharePoint, but have Alfresco capturing those invoices. Maybe they've been scanned in and stored in Alfresco for long-term archive, maybe under records management, those kinds of things. They can browse through the files and folders. We can go down in and look at the metadata there. We can also issue searches. So this is an advanced search, kind of forms-based search capability. So we can search against custom models and the metadata that's held within Alfresco. So here we can search for purchase orders. There's actions on search results. So this means that we've got the ability to do things like check in and check out. We can upload new documents and also edit online from this view as well. The preview capability that we were just talking about is built into the integration. So we do have the rich HTML5 previews as well available within the SharePoint environment. And then also the filtered search that we saw as well. So just like we saw within Share, this is the ability to search and filter based on the metadata that again is stored against the documents that are held within the Alfresco repository. So here in this case, we're very quickly being able to filter on things like customer name, currency, invoice value, those kinds of things, all being driven from the back-end model there today. So we're really excited about this. We think that's going to open up a lot of new opportunities for us to work in conjunction with SharePoint in those organizations that are making use of it.
And I think it gets to that original pain I talked about earlier of, ECM is about integration and openness and making things accessible and, not adding a burden. And I think this shows yet another great point to that.
Absolutely.
And new news for London, too, because we wanted to hold out something for this crowd. So that was good. So thank you.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you very much.
So we've seen a lot of components happening. And I want, if you could cue that slide up again. We've seen a lot related to initiating a workflow inside of a client like Outlook, working with Office. But also now, working mobility, continuing the process happening. But now, as an IT owner, I really want to understand what has happened. How do I get into and really understand from an analytics standpoint what is going on? So with that, I'm going to have John Iball come up on stage and talk to some of the issues that we've got.
Hold on a second.
Hold on.
I'm going to pause that video.
Okay. Got happy on the trigger here. All right.
Okay, go again. Right.
Ta-da! Nope, we gotta go back. Go back. It's always that button. Can we cue the slide back, please?
No, you need to do it, Thomas.
I don't have it back, do I? Oh, there it is. Look at that.
Okay.
Oh, I keep pressing the green button, don't I?
Okay, should we start
All right,
again?
I'll stop. Well, thank you, John, for coming up on stage.
Thanks, Thomas. Thanks for that.
And this does get to the spirit of showing more of what happened, right? And it's about
Absolutely.
documents, it's about people, it's about process. So show me a little bit of what we're going to see.
Okay, so the race has been won, the business has been won, but life goes on. And like all our customers, Goldcore's continues striving to improve the efficiency of their business. So our goal with the new reporting analytics module was to give our customers insights into content, people, and processes to allow them to make those changes to the business to improve the efficiency. So here we've got an example dashboard showing just some of the capabilities. It's fully customizable. You can design your own reports, create your own charts, very easy to do. But for the purpose of this demonstration, as I said, we're going to focus on where the valuable content is, what's going on in the organization across different sites over time, and who the most productive users are, who's contributing the most. So let's start with the content. On the left-hand side, we've got a chart showing the 10 most active pieces of content across the organization. And not surprising, given the F1 engagement, the top few items are related to 3D carbon fiber printing. And this is showing all the activities associated with the content. The uploads, the edits, the downloads, the shares, the likes, the reads. But if we're interested in value, perhaps we should be looking at the items that are being consumed the most.
Sure.
So looking at the items that are downloaded and read. So we can actually select those activities, drill into those, and it will reorder and show us the most consumed items, arguably the most valuable items at this time for the organization. It'll resort. So you've got the top 10 most consumed items.
And I can drill into any component I really, really want.
Yeah, you could look to see the most reads, the most edits, whatever activity you like.
So I can show my adoption of my ECM system.
Yeah, you can. That's one measure. We've got more measures as well, though. So next thing is looking at activities across different parts of the organization over time. And the graph on the right, the chart on the right, shows just that. Over the past 7 months, content-based activities across marketing, sales contracts, and sales enablement. But I'm interested in just the last 3 months, the last quarter. So I can select those, zoom in on that, and then drill down further if I want to see new content being created. So this is perhaps sales contracts or new sales collateral. See when it's being created. So I can drill down, look at just that activity within a particular month. I can get a day-by-day view of the activity across those 3 sites. And we'll look at peaks and troughs in the amount of new content being uploaded. And that can show us, highlight potential bottlenecks, potential problems with our organization.
Right.
Okay, so that's the content and the activities across the organization. What about the users? How are the users contributing? How are they engaged? So the next chart actually shows the 10 most active users. And again, start off by showing all the activities, including user logins, file uploads, reads, the whole realm of user activity. But we want to see the users that are contributing the most, the ones that are perhaps most engaged. So we're looking at selecting, drilling down to look at the users that have uploaded the most files and have edited the most files. So we can drill down, select those two, reorder, and see the users that are contributing most in terms of content. So we've got content, we've got users. How are they working together? What about collaboration? What's going into making the valuable content? So the next graph on the right-hand side is showing just that. The inner circle of sectors is showing, again, the active content. And then the outer sector is showing the users that are collaborating on that content. In this case, the users that have actually edited the content the most. And we can zoom in there. We can actually select any sectors. I'm going to select the top 3 most active pieces of content, zoom in, and then have a look at, in a bit more detail, what the individual users are doing, how active they've been, how many edits they've made to the content. And that could equally be how often they've read a piece of content, how often they've shared it, or liked it, or downloaded it. But you get a feel for where the intellectual property resides for a particular piece of content. OK, so that's the active users, the valuable content. Now, Thomas, you've already talked about the importance for an ECM system of user adoption.
Right.
So how do we measure user adoption? Well, the most obvious thing is just initially looking at user logins.
Yep.
On a month-by-month basis, looking at the profile of that, how it's changing. So the next graph on the bottom left is showing just that. Over time, the total number of user logins across the whole ECM site, from initial deployment in February, initial ramp-up, steady state, a dip in July, perhaps holidays, and then we're only partway through September when this snapshot was taken. We can zoom in and see the individual logins on a month-by-month basis. And if we want to dig a bit deeper to see if there's any unusual profiles in the month, we can actually select the logins for a particular month. Show how that changes over time.
Yep.
See if the users are actually logging in on particular days or particular time of the month. So that's showing you the adoption. And if you see a trend, upward trend, that's great. Downward trend, perhaps you're doing something wrong. Perhaps it's not offering the facilities you need. But that's just user logins. What about how the users are using the system, how well they're actually really engaged with it, how much value they're gaining? So the next graph is one view on that. And it's showing the top 10 most active users, in this case, the amount of files they're downloading, presumably for reference to get their job done. And again, over the last 7 months, you can see trends in how users are using the system. That could equally be reads or uploads or edits, but we're looking at downloads. And if we select the most active user, Amy Dearhart, who was really involved with the Newton F1 project, we can see that she is very active in August. But if we want to dig down and see what she's doing in September,
sure,
we can do that. And actually just click through and see on a day-by-day basis what she's doing in terms of document downloads. And a peek, again, at the end of the month as we're really getting ready to deliver the product for the Formula One team. So hopefully that should give you an insight into the sort of things we can do with the reporting analytics. There's an awful lot more, and like everything else we've seen, there are breakout sessions today and tomorrow, so come along and see those. Mm-hmm. And that's the end of the end-user-focused features.
Right, and like you said, a lot of these, there's some functionality that comes directly as part of it, but since people's businesses are different and we're open, there's the ability to easily customize reports.
Very, very easy. You can build your own reports to suit your own particular business needs, your own use cases.
Love it. Thanks. But there are additional things that we want to get to. They're not as great to show in a demo, actually, but some of them actually we have seen in a demo, like the update to Solar 4.
Yeah, and this is really important because we recognize that many of our customers and our partners are using Alfresco as a platform to build your own business-centric apps to suit your business needs. So we spend a lot of time, effort developing the platform, enhancing the platform, and this slide just shows just some of the new functionality that we've got. And as Thomas says, to call out just a couple, and the first one is particularly important, is the update to Solar 4 from 1.4. Now
so that's fast searching that we saw?
Fast searching, new features, which we also saw, and improved scalability. And this is one of the drivers in moving from 4.2 to 5, why we're having a major release. In addition to all the new functionality, you do need to do a re-index on your data in going to Solar 4. So we needed to do a major release. It's one of the reasons why this is 5.0.
This is a 5.0, yeah.
The other thing we'd just like to call out is encryption at rest. Thomas has already mentioned it. We're all very security conscious in this day and age, and having encryption at rest really makes sure you can secure your intellectual property in Alfresco. You've got control of your keys now. It's baked into the core of the product.
Right.
And the other features are there for you to look at. And again, ask the engineers over the next couple of days. At
the experts bar, the breakout sessions, all the additional things we have on that.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Thanks for coming.
Thanks, Thomas.
All right. Cheers.
Thank you. Cheers.
And we also have had a cloud Alfresco instance running for a while now. And getting back to doing a lot of listening earlier on, what a lot of people were telling was, we like the functionality and all the different things that we can do on premises, But why doesn't your cloud product have that? Because really it was focused on simple file sync and share, which I think at this point is more of a feature of a larger platform. So another thing we're announcing today is we're pushing out a new version 2 of our cloud, which is a lot more feature-rich and in line with the functionality that you see on premises as well. So this is something that we believe is kind of differentiates from the simple file sync and share vendors out there back to the workflow and processes and additional collaboration features that are built into our on-premises and just having that available as a on-demand cloud service as well. So look for that coming to a browser near you. Moving on, I mentioned this has been a busy year. Paul's Holmes-Higgin, one of the co-founders of Alfresco, has been working with the Activiti team as a BPM effort, and I want to invite Paul up on stage to talk about some of the advancements that they've had this year. Paul, thank you for joining.
So you're wanting to know how Activiti's been going?
I do.
I'm going to show you. It's been going like this.
Big strides, right? Leaps and bounds.
Leaping forward. Leaps
Love
and bounds. What else? You got that one?
Iteration?
No, it's really taking off.
Oh, really taking off?
Yeah.
Okay.
I wanted to do We're on Fire, but they wouldn't let me.
Right. No. Yeah, the sprinklers get on this.
No, Activiti. So Activiti, there's many of you amongst us that know that Activiti is the workflow engine embedded in Alfresco One. What you may not know is Activiti is also an open source project, a BPM Java engine that's been going for many years, started by Alfresco, and has been very successful. Basically, it's something that we've decided we want to make more of. And so at the beginning of the year, Doug asked me to work with the Activiti team to build up a new product offering for business process management around Activiti. And really, that's what we've been doing.
Great.
And we've been adding enhancements and improvements to it since we started. So.
I would love to have some of that shown to the group.
Yeah, well, if you
want to dig on in, all right.
Yeah. So some of the things we've been doing. So Activiti, as it sort of started, is very much a process engine, which is great if you know process, business process management, and BPM languages. But for the business user, it's something which is more challenging to deal with. So some of the things we've been working very hard on is easy process design. Make it a lot easier for a business user or a business analyst to design some processes. The other thing is, of course, process. When people think about process, they think, oh, I've got to do A, B, C, D. I've got to follow the process exactly. Right. Now, in this day and age, that's not the way people work. There are certain things that do need to be formalized, but there are other times where you want to get out and you want to be able to sort of involve other people in some of the things you're doing. So we've been working on the concept of collaborative tasks. So when something's assigned to you, maybe you get other people involved in working with it. And then the other thing we've done with this is an idea of process apps, where it gives you a way of bundling together certain processes and exposing that to a user. So
hang on, stop.
Stop the presses, stop the presses.
Sorry to interrupt. I've just had this important package for attention of Paul Holmes-Higgin, also known as Bruce. Perhaps you want to explain that.
Yeah, well, okay, this is...
What are you going to do with that now?
It's a bit embarrassing.
It is.
I also do work occasionally at Goldcore. Yes. In the customer services department. They know me as Bruce there.
Yeah. I think something's broken.
I think something is broken. So really good example of so here I am in customer services at the minute. We just use email for communicating in terms of. So perhaps I should set up a process to
deal with that.
Absolutely.
Let's do that. Let's get over there. So how would you set that up?
Well. IT don't have time to set something up for me. They're really busy. But they have pointed me to, they've got an installation of Activiti. So we're just going to start, and I'm going to play with Activiti to get it going.
Sounds good.
So when I get started, obviously, the first thing I'm going to do is design the process. What am I going to do? Well, design the process. Now, I've got a choice. When I go in here, if I'm an expert in BPM and I know things like BPM NN 2.0, then I can design things in a sort of graphical Visio style way of working. I'm not that smart. So I'm going to use the step editor. The step editor is a tool to allow a business user to be able to define the process that they want to work with. And so it works in a way where you just build up your process by a sequence of steps. So what I'm going to do, start my business process model, step editing. First step, I need to start the process. So it could be I just hit a button and start the process. But in this case, I've got some information that I want to collect to initiate my, my customer sort of services process. What I'm going to do is start the thing by having a form pop up. And the form is going to collect certain information about the customer and the particular fault. And I can go through, and if I've already got some forms predefined, I can build up a form library and use them, or I can just build a form on the fly. And that's what I'm going to do now. Just create the form dynamically, drag and drop elements onto the page, onto the form, for the fields that I want to collect from the business user, from the user. In this case, I'm going to collect the customer name, because obviously I need to know who I'm dealing with. The other thing is for the customer report, the customer has to send in a document detailing all the faults. So I'm going to have an upload form that allows me to attach the document to the process as it flows through. So I just carry on building up the elements to the form here until I've got my start form completed. So this is the basic information I need to initiate the process. So then I can then start building on additional steps and working through the process that I want to build out for my customer services process. Now, what I'm going to have here is there'll be one step which is going to be collect additional information about the issue. Then I'm going to farm this out to the quality assurance team. So this is just going to be put on their work queue. Someone in quality assurance is going to have to take this and work with it. And in that part, that's when they're going to work on the inspection of the part. Now, there's quite a bit they have to do there. They need to work out exactly what's going on. They inspect what the customer's been saying about it. May need to look up some of the technical documentation that we have about it. And then they have to write up a report detailing their conclusions and then decide on the outcome. And of course, with a faulty part, it could be that it's our fault and we have to replace the part, or it could be that the customer is actually using it in slightly the wrong way. So I'm defining those steps and defining forms that I go along. Now, one of the things I've said already is I'm collecting documents as I go along. Now, these are just transient documents, but I really want to capture them and place them into Alfresco and make sure they're captured as records. So I will have captured the initial fault report from the customer. I've also got the fault analysis by our QA. I want those to go into Alfresco and be created as a record. So I can create a step that just literally says, collect everything that we've created so far and put it in a particular place in the Alfresco repository, and if there's rules there, can convert it into a record. And I can also do things like, say, put it in a folder that's based on the customer name as well, just to make it easy for me to find or file later. So I'm building up the process. Now, the final step in all of this is, obviously, I will have made a decision about whether it's a replacement part or it's something where the customer did something wrong. So I need to define two different paths that I can go down in my process here. And I just do that again by pointing and clicking and the number of options here. And everything is there to make it easy for me. If it's picking elements from forms that I've defined here, I just point, click, and choose what I want to do. In this case, we're going to say it's improper usage. If the inspection form said that if the person concluded it was improper usage. Right. So I've created my process. I can save this now. Oh, I haven't finished yet. I need to finish.
Got my human step, right?
I need to do the human step. Yes, tell someone to tell the customer.
Right.
But anyway, once I've defined my process, then what I want to be able to do is enable that to be used by me and my team. And the easiest way for me to do that is to create a process app. And I can create a process app and make that available to anyone to use. A process app is just simply a sort of an icon, a color theme, and then, more importantly, what processes I want to be included in that app. I've only defined one process, but more, if I define additional processes over time, then I can add them into this process app and again, just share this with my team. So I've added that one process app I just created. Important step here is to publish it. Once I've published the app, now it's available to anyone who I've shared this application with. And they can add it to their landing page, and then they can be using it to start or look at tasks or processes associated with the customer services activities. So here we go, we're going to run it now. So I'm going to go into my process app, and I'm going to start a new process to deal with this particular case here. So up pops the form that I created. I'm going to fill in the customer name, which was Globex. And then, importantly, I'm going to add the fault document. Now, Globex, they're an unusual company. They like sharing documents through Google Drive.
Okay.
So I can attach from Google Drive or Alfresco or other repositories and bring that into the activity process. Fill in the other information I need to do, press the button, and we're off. The process has started. So I can see exactly, as the person who started this process, I can see exactly where it is at any point in time. I can come back here, I can see what is currently active, what's been done, and what is left to be done. Now, if you remember, there were several stages that this had to go through, and one important one was it was going to go to the quality assurance department.
Right.
Now, Fiona in quality assurance, she's going to come and she's going to see that there's no task for her, but if she looks in the quality assurance queue, there is in fact there is a task that she needs to do. She can claim that. Once she's claimed it, she's responsible for completing it. Now, there's quite a bit that she needs to do here. She needs to sort of fill in a technical report about what the problem is. Now, she may feel that she's not capable of doing this on her own, and this is where she wants to actually get someone else involved with her to help her make the decision. So she's going to involve Jeremy Clarkson, to get some technical expertise. And as soon as she's involved Jeremy in this particular task, he will see it in his inbox. He won't be able to complete the task, but he'll be able to do things like comment on it, add additional documentation, and basically help Fiona out.
Right.
So he might, so Fiona's going to ask him for help. And what will happen if Jeremy starts doing anything with this task, Fiona will get notifications via email that something has changed, and she can come back in and see what Jeremy's done for her. In this case, he's added a comment, given her some pointers as to what to do, and also attached a document for her to look at with the technical details of the problem that they're trying to deal with. Fiona can take a look at that, check the issues, come to the final conclusion that actually in this case the customer had been using the part inappropriately, they've been using the wrong tolerances from the documentation. So she'll now finish and complete her report. Now, she's been working on this in Alfresco repository in her own private space. So she's just going into Alfresco, attach the document again to the process. So everything is all collected together. She's now going to say, okay, well, unfortunately, the customer made the mistake, so we're going to go through the route of reporting that it was improper usage. So it's going to come back to me as Bruce to explain that to the customer. And me as Bruce, again, when I look at anything that's going on, I can see exactly the full history about the process, where it is, and all the documents and everything that have been attached to it, and I have a full understanding of what I may need to tell the customer going forward. And of course, the important thing we said, we've got through the final conclusion of the process, but also we've captured the documents and put them into Alfresco's repository, and they're now safe, secure, managers' records, and everything perfect is great. Apart from now, unfortunately, I need to go and explain to someone about they were using things inappropriately.
Oh, well, at least you were able to quickly establish a process, and I think there's more information that people can get on Activiti.
Oh, so the important thing is you can get access to Activiti live in the cloud, so you can sign up on activiti.alfresco.com. Everything I've shown you, all the capabilities are there, and in a few weeks, in a few weeks, we'll be doing an on-premise version as well. Love it.
And you're in the experts bar, and there's some breakout sessions as well.
Absolutely. Just come and ask us.
Just come and ask. That sounds great. Thanks for coming up.
Okay.
All right. So here it is in October. 2014, as I mentioned before, has been really, really busy. But since we haven't stopped thinking about what things look like in the future, I wanted to give a little preview of what 2015 is starting to shape up around. And I want to invite Ahson Ahmad from the product management team, looking at intelligent process applications, and really just maybe a discussion about some of the challenges people are having and how we're going to go about addressing that. So thanks for coming up.
Yeah, thank you. So as Tom was saying, 2014 has been a busy year. I'm 11 months in, and I've been really, really busy. And what I've been doing? Well, I've been doing some really important stuff. The primary thing that I've been really doing is growing out my hair, and I think it's going really, really well.
You look so different than your profile picture, right?
Well, it's a particular source of pride for me because I don't want to mention names, but some of our colleagues at Alfresco, I think they've migrated their hair to the cloud. I managed to keep it on.
Yeah, I keep it on head.
Right. So we've been looking, actually, seriously, we've been looking at different solutions that you, our customers, our partners, that want to talk about Alfresco. And the reason that we're doing that is as we're looking to the future, we're looking at how we can make things even better for you. And we think that the way to do this is to understand what you're actually using our products for. So I think the key thing that we've learned is that you all buy or implement on top of ECM to build solutions, right? File sync and share systems have become really popular, but when it comes down to it, people don't buy an ECM system to put, a network file share in the cloud, right? What they do is they want to put business rules on top of that, they want to put intelligence on top of that, metadata, workflow, etc. So there's a whole bunch that goes on top of that. And as we start to look into some of the different layers of what makes up these applications, we think that there's an opportunity for us to build on top of the platform that we have an app platform that allows you to build applications on top of our technology. And we call these intelligent process apps. And so the first key thing that we've seen is that one size doesn't fit all. There's a lot of variance in the different solutions that we've seen. We've seen you implement solutions in the healthcare space on patient records to claims processing to contract management and on and on. And with that, you as application designers or developers need flexibility. You need to be able to go in and make the UIs and the business rules different for each one. And we talked about how salespeople are lazy, right?
Well, we didn't use lazy, but okay.
Well, I think that what we've also seen is that developers are lazy too. What we believe we see is that we can provide an easy way to configure these applications with this variance in a low-code environment.
Low-code, so not getting a developer involved for all that heavy lifting that it may need. For
there's certainly going to be the last mile of customization that's needed, but for the most part, we don't want you to be hacking through XML files or things like that in the future. We see a way where you can just drag and drop and configure 80% or 90% of your solution.
I like it.
Right. So then the other thing that we see is, the kinds of things that you're doing with the content is really trying to extract value from it. And we talked about variance, but there's a ton of commonality. And that commonality is really the intersection of content, process, collaboration, and people coming together to work on content or within this context of an application. And we think we're really well positioned for building this kind of platform because we have the best open source ECM system and the best open source BPM system. We're going to bring those together and build this platform out.
Love it.
The other thing that we've seen is we've talked about user adoption and how important that is. And really, I think you mentioned it earlier, is you can have the best system in the world, and if nobody uses it, it's not useful.
Nope.
And so really what we've seen is that simple applications, less features win over complex ones, so focused on the user, and ones that are intuitive win over things that require user training. And that leads us to a path where we start to focus more on user-centered design principles, and we bring you this platform to deliver world-class UI and world-class experiences. And the last is we've seen a lot around data privacy and security. We believe that content is moving to the cloud, but we also see that there's going to be a class of content that's going to stay on premises. And with all the stuff happening around Snowden and NSA and data residency and sovereignty concerns, we think that really the model forward is, we want to be able to deliver apps to you with the innovation at the speed of SaaS. So those apps could be delivered from the cloud or on premises, but you get to choose where the content is.
Exactly.
And so that's really the pillars of this platform that we're building out.
Sounds like the right ingredients. I think we have some things to show as well, right?
Yeah, we do. In fact, as part of that, we've been building an application, actually, that we're going to be launching in the market soon. It's a contract management application, which is one example of one of these intelligent process applications. And you remember the Newton F1 example that we've been talking through. So we're going to go back to that. And essentially, F1 has actually won the race. And our CMO at Goldcore has said, he wants to do a joint marketing program between Goldcore and Newton so we can start to do some joint promotion. So we actually have to negotiate a contract around that, so we're going to go negotiate a marketing partnership agreement now. So I'll talk through the players.
Sure.
So there's Jenny Washington. She's our legal counsel.
And some of her needs are that she needs to know kind of, what her top tasks are. She wants a clear visibility of her work queue. She wants to see the different revisions and keep track of them from different users in terms of their feedback and their red lines. And she wants to know what the current phase of each contract is that she's working on. Franco is our counterpart on the Newton side from the legal in-house counsel stuff. And he basically wants to work the way that he's working. He doesn't want to have a process imposed on him. So he wants low touch, easy access to the contract negotiation to come in, grab the content, and continue to work the way that he normally works. And then lastly, from a signing perspective, we don't want to have users forced to jump out and to do multiple processes to sign, but within the context of this application, have signing embedded. And so we actually have an integration with signing technology. We're going to demonstrate the DocuSign integration here, but we could do other integrations with CoSign, for example, who's one of our sponsors, or others. And their needs really are, they want to be able to sign on the go, they want something that's secure, and they want a copy of the contract at the end of it.
It all sounds good. Let's take a look.
Let's take a look. So we're going to come in as Jenny. Jenny's going to log in, and you can see that she sees a dashboard view of all the contracts that she's been working on. Off to the right, she's going to open up her task panel, and this sorts and organizes the work that she needs to do based on priority, based on due dates.
Got it.
She'll come in, she'll see her task view. This is the different information or metadata that's come in for this particular request. And she can then flip over to the file section and review the content that's already been provided. There's a proposal document that's been sent by the marketing folks who have actually initiated the contract, and she's actually going to draft a new contract agreement for this marketing partnership.
Got it.
So she's going to grab her template, which is the master agreement, and she's going to upload it into the system. And you saw the Microsoft Word integration that we talked about earlier. We're actually using that here as well.
Great.
And this is part of that, taking the goodness in the platform that we have and surfacing it through these apps.
Yep.
So we're editing the document. We made a change to one of the clauses because we know the customer or the other partner wants that clause removed. So we've gone ahead and done that. And now typically what we would do is we may circulate this internally to our stakeholders. So this is Jenny's colleagues within Goldcore, maybe the marketing department or others, to get some review and feedback on that. And that process would follow the same lines. They would get a task, they would open up the document, they would modify it, put their red lines in, and so forth. So we're going to fast forward this a little bit so that we move on to the external review step.
Okay.
And in the external review step, we're going to go ahead and forward this to Franco, who's our legal counsel counterpart. We can obviously customize a message. We can set up a due date for when the system should be alerting us in terms of deadlines and timescales, and we can kick off the review. So at this point, a notification is generated for Franco. Now this is Franco's view. Franco will get an email from the system saying that he's got some files to review. And all he has to do is click on that link. He doesn't have to bother with a login or anything like that. We've actually created a secure external site that gives him access to the contract that he's collaborating on just for that period. So he's going to go ahead, he can download the contract, he can circulate it, however he wants to do it. We're not imposing any of that here. But when he's ready to send his revisions or his comments back, he can go ahead and do that.
Got it.
So he'll put in his comments. He'll upload the contract back, and you can say it's gone through multiple revisions. He'll put his final comments in, and he'll send that back to Jenny. So that's completed, and now Jenny will get a notification in email as well as within the task saying that this task has been completed. And she can, at this point, decide what she wants to do.
Sure.
We've talked about process earlier, and a lot of times process gets interpreted as something rigid and structured. And when we talk about intelligent process apps, the whole point is there's power that the user has. They can make decisions about what step is next. And this is an example of that where we get to choose whether we need to run another cycle, whether we need to go for another internal review, et cetera. And typically, again, what would happen here is we might get some external feedback that then we need to validate internally. So we might go back and forth in this negotiation round between the internal and external parties. So we're going to fast forward again to now the point where all this contract language has been agreed upon, and we're going to start the sign process, and we're going to look at that. So Jenny's going to kick off the sign process, and we need our CEO, Doug, who's going to sign the contract, as well as Stefan from the Newton F1 team who's going to sign the contract. And we're going to go ahead and place signature tags on the contract.
Okay.
And this is featuring our integration with DocuSign. So for those of you familiar with that UI, you'll find this very familiar. But essentially, we're just going to drag our tags on, and we're going to go ahead and send this out. This will then send out email notifications to all the parties we've invited for the signing ceremony.
And we could open it up to, it's open to others if we want to put other signing technologies.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's open to other signing technologies in the future as well. So we come to a status page here. We can see that we're still awaiting for some signatures. So let's move over to Stefan's view, who's now received a signature request from the system. So he's going to open up the link, and then for those of you familiar with any kind of signing technology, you just go ahead and you sign the contract electronically, and you confirm the signing. And what happens is we actually, on our dashboard, and Jenny's actually getting notifications and actually updates of what's actually happened. And you can see that in that previous screen, both of the signers had completed. So we got an audit trail over on the right of who had completed what task in what order. And at this point, the contract is completed, it's put in final status, and now it's available for searching. So you can see the live search over on the right. We ran a search, and we're taking a look at our HTML previewer here as well. And you can see that the final version of the contract is in, the signatures are in, and we can see all the versions of the contract tracked here.
Beautiful. That looks like a nice way to simplify that process. Work internally plus externally. We have office integration, signing technologies, all bundled up. That's really a great example.
Yep.
All right. And there's some additional things related to this as well. Maybe you could talk about the charter program.
Yeah, so as I mentioned that we want to launch this product soon, and what we're doing is we're actually looking for customers who want to beta the application. We're reaching that stage now. We actually have a couple of beta customers now. We're looking for more. There's limited spots, but if you are interested in the program, come and talk to me. I have a session, I think around noon in Berkeley, Belgrave, so we're going to talk more about contract management. And also, if you are a business user that deals with contracts at all, we would love to get your feedback on the application. And actually here, we've set up a user testing booth at the experts bar. Go ahead and sign up. We're actually giving you 10 pounds Starbucks gift card, so you can buy like one coffee maybe. And come spend time with us, and actually you can use the application. It's live. We'll get your feedback, and we'll actually use some of that for product development.
That is great. That is great. Thanks for coming up and showing us the latest, what people should be seeing in the pretty near future in 2015.
All right, thank you.
All right. So you've all been very, very patient. We've gone through a lot today, right? We've shown core Alfresco One functionality across a number of different interfaces. We've shown mobile. We've shown working with Activiti, with some of the intelligent process apps that we're thinking about right now. Some of these, as you could tell, these videos were recorded so that it made it easier to kind of walk through and have the dialogue. But it's live code. You can see it working in a lot of the booths, and there's a number of breakout sessions too that you can see all the live code happening. So I encourage you to, spend the day, ask a lot of questions. If you see myself or anybody from the product team, please introduce yourself. I'd really love to hear more about, how you're using Alfresco, what we could do better as well, similar to what Doug was talking about earlier. But, we have a full day tonight. We have a great party as well at the end of the day. And with that, for the community members, for our partners, for our ecosystems, for our sponsors, it's just a big thank you. So thank you very much for joining us.